Hello, and welcome to today's episode of the 4Ps podcast. I hope, you're seeing me twice in 1 week. Went back to back this week. And the reason for that is because we have a lot of special things going on in the month of May. One of which is the release of the book, Stories of Friends and Family Loss. This book will be out on the 17th of May. And we're going to have a series of podcast episodes leading up to that. So what I wanted to do today is I don't want to focus on that book yet. We will be focusing on that starting next week and into the following week. Like I said, the book is going to be released on the 17th of May. And again, we'll have a little bit more detail on that as well. We are just now coming off of a powerful podcast episode. Usually I like to let these episodes sit and marinate for a little while before I release another one. Tessa Williams, like I said before, she is a dear friend of mine. One thing I do want to say before I go into this episode is she is everything she said in that episode, as far as her determination and her grit and her her desire to help those that are stuck, and I will use the word stuck, in the sex industry around the world. She means it. She absolutely means it. She works diligently to make sure that people don't have to go through the same, or go on the same path that she went on. So she really does mean it, and she's an awesome individual, and she's a dear friend of mine. You will be seeing her, guaranteed. You'll be seeing her again. She is going to be working with me on some other projects that are coming up. I'm not going to announce them yet, but they are coming up very soon. Today, if you've seen, I am wearing a t-shirt. Now, usually I wear like a hoodie or some like real nice, I don't want to say nice, but some quarter zip sweatshirts or sweaters or something like that. Two reasons why I do that. Number one, my studio's down in the basement and it's cold down here. Okay. And number two, it's cold right now. It will be warm here in the next 6 days, because it is North Carolina and things change. And the other reason is I don't like wearing t-shirts that much. I'm still kind of old fashioned. I like to have something with something on it, something a little professional. And I guess I am saying professional. We're talking hoodies. Well, if my boy Mark Zuckerberg can do that, then wear those to business meetings. And what's my boy's name? The senator from Pennsylvania, Fetterman. He wears a hoodie. I think that hoodies now are becoming fashionable, and I guess we could say they're professional now. So there you go. But today I'm wearing the Saskatchewan Roughriders t-shirt. And for those of you who do not know who the Saskatchewan Roughriders are, I'm going to give you a small history, and then I'm going to talk about who is on our show today. Saskatchewan Roughriders is a Canadian Football League football team. They are a great team. They are really good. They went to the Western semifinal this past year. I did want them to go to the final. Yes, I am a Toronto Argos fan as well, so it was really hard because the Argos actually did win the championship. So to watch that game, I would have been happy whichever one won. But I'm going to tell you why I'm a Saskatchewan Roughriders fan. A lot of people probably say you don't even know how to spell Saskatchewan. And to those people who just said that, you are correct. I literally had to look down to see how I could spell it. But I do love it because I actually went to Saskatchewan years ago and got to run it. I went on happenstance. I went to a game. Absolutely enjoyed the people. And from enjoying the people and enjoying their fandom, I actually became a Saskatchewan Roughriders fan. I have this t-shirt. I do have a really, really nice quarter zip sweater that I got. It's a beautiful sweater. And every time I go out, I was in Nashville, Tennessee around Christmas time 2 years ago, and I was wearing that sweater. And someone says, "Are you from there?" I'm like, "No." And he knew exactly what I was talking about. The fans of this football team, they are very loyal, and they're very, very nice people. It is a great thing. And the reason why I get to wear this shirt, another reason, is because our guest today is from Saskatchewan. And even though she's from a very small town in Saskatchewan, Everybody I know has probably heard her voice. If you watch TV, if you listen to radio, she is a voice actress. Her name's Amanda Sellers. And it's not just about the voice, which she has a great voice. She has a pleasant voice, and she's an extremely pleasant person. And you're going to love what she has to say. And I'm not just talking about, her commercials and her voice acting and the different television shows she's been on and different radio and this, that, and the other. I'm not necessarily talking about this. This woman is a hardworking single mother, and she works very hard to make sure that her craft and her kids are successful. We will be right back with Amanda Sellers right after this.
There is no loss greater, no pain deeper than that of losing a child. In stories of children lost, from the ones who love them most, parents share their journeys through heartbreak, healing, and remembrance. These are not just stories of loss, but of love that never fades, memories that never die, and strength that carries us forward. For those who grieve, for those who remember, for those who seek understanding, this book is for you. Now available at Barnes & Noble, on Amazon, and anywhere you buy books. Find comfort in shared stories.
We are back with the 4Ps podcast, and I have a guest today who you may not know her name, but I will guarantee you her voice is in your house. It is on your TV. It is on appliances. It is everywhere. Her voice is everywhere. And when you hear her voice today, when she talks, you're going to realize why it's in. It's a beautiful voice. It's a beautiful person, obviously. We are here with Amanda Sellers, all the way from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. And how are you doing, Amanda?
Oh, Trunnis, I'm amazing. So happy to be here. And yeah, it's a great day.
Fantastic. Now, we were talking before the interview. I was telling her, she lived for a long time in BC, and then she moved back to the Saskatchewan area, or the province. And I told her about my love for Canadian football, and I told her about my love of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And I told her how I fell in love with them and everything like that. And I realized how small of a world this is. You may go ahead and start talking, because I could talk all day. So go for it, please.
Well, the irony is, nobody ever even knows where Saskatchewan is when I tell them. When I'm in the US, I just say, I live in the middle of Canada, don't worry about it. Or I'll say, I live in Vancouver or Toronto. But then to go even further and hear that you're a fan of the Saskatchewan Roughriders is unbelievable. So I used to be a radio DJ in Regina at 104.9 The Wolf, and I used to do the pre-show at the Rider games. So maybe we crossed paths and didn't even know it.
Absolutely. And you know what? Maybe even when I didn't cross paths with you. So now I get my games on Sirius XM. If I'm not watching it, in the United States, the way we get CFL football games, you get them two ways. Either you watch it on the app, it's called CFL Plus, and you can watch all the games for free. Or if there are games that are high-profile games, you would have to get it on CBS Sports.
Okay.
But when I watch the game, or when I'm listening to the game, if I'm on the road, and I will tell you, I will watch or listen to every single CFL game from preseason all the way to the Grey Cup. That's how much I love I cannot even say that about the NFL. But whenever I'm listening to Rider games, I will listen to it on Sirius XM. So I've probably heard your voice many, many, many times, listening to the Saskatchewan Roughriders often. So, and I will say this about Saskatchewan: they have a third alternate jersey and logo that I have not purchased yet, but I will be buying their new logo. It's actually beautiful, so I really like it.
We got to get it signed.
Oh yeah.
I know some people. We'll make it happen.
That's what I'm talking about. I've got to make that happen. Absolutely,
Yeah.
we will. And beyond football, we're not going to talk about that today that much. But I will say this: your voice is everywhere. Literally everywhere. You can hear it on Chipotle commercials. You can hear it. It's all over the U.S. It's a great voice. Obviously, you've done radio. You've done a lot of voiceover. Amanda, how did you get into this field?
Great question. I grew up here in the middle of nowhere, well, Saskatchewan, as you know, and I was always into acting and singing and performing, even like young. As soon as I was 18, I left and I moved out to Vancouver. I went to theater school and I was still exploring, the acting and singing and whatnot. And I read in one of the classified ads, there was a band looking for a singer. I'm like, I could do that. Just fearless, I joined this rock band and I started singing in bands. Somehow find myself in Los Angeles. I'm working at the Rainbow Bar and Grill on Sunset Boulevard, still singing in bands. And then one day I crossed paths with this drummer, and her name was Amanda, a guitar player. And they had both just graduated from Harvard, got their MBAs, and wanted to make a band as a business. And I've always been this crazy free spirit with no direction. I'm a gypsy. I just was like, creating, and the thing that my family jokes about is like the sellers, like we go where the wind blows us. We don't really, we're kind of all over the map, the creative people. But when I got in this band with this van, we lived in a van for 2 years. Wow. Me and these MBA graduates, and they also one was in the Air Force, one was in the Army. And I learned so much from them, going coast to coast, seeing every place in between, and how they ran a business. And I had never even heard the word business. My band broke up. I moved back, I came back to Saskatoon because I didn't know what to do with myself. Broke up with the guy that I was with at the time. So I didn't go back to LA. So I'm in Saskatoon. I got the job at the radio station.
Right.
104.9 The Wolf. When you do local radio, they ask you to go into the back, studio, and then you read commercials for the local businesses. Well, the second that I went in the studio and I read the script, magic happens tonight at Home Hardware Building Center. I'm like, oh, this is what I'm meant to do. So everything that I had done up until that point, I realized voiceover was the thing. This was about 16 years ago, and I put every single ounce of my time and energy into becoming a voice actor. It was perfect timing because it was right when Uber was transferring, taking over taxis. It was kind of the same time when online casting was kind of taking over the in-studio voiceover.
Right.
Which was a big adjustment for a lot of people in the industry and whatnot. But I got in right at that time. So I'm doing online casting. I'm waking up at 5 a.m. auditioning for everything that came into my inbox. But the cool thing was the band, that's how I learned how to do a business. So then I could be creative, but then I remembered how they hustled, how they ran things, what they did. And so I owe that to them, but then the creative energy. So it was almost I knew there was some kind of purpose for me. I never really thought that I was going to make it in music. I just didn't know where I was going to end up. I didn't really like radio. I didn't like kind of being a slave to the, no offense to anyone in radio, but the company and having to follow the rules and sometimes they wouldn't like what I said and whatnot. But the freedom of, working for myself and then diving into this cool creative field, working from home, ended up having kids and whatnot. It's been amazing. So that's how I got into it. And it's been on the go ever since.
Fantastic. So, I just talked about Chipotle and all those other commercials that you've done. You've been doing this for quite a long time. And it's been very lucrative for you, and it's been very rewarding, obviously. Do you see yourself expanding from doing what you do now to doing more and more? Or,
that's a really great question. And I feel as far as voiceover, I feel I hit the pinnacle. I know if I want to be in a Disney movie, I know exactly what I have to do. Right. I know if I want to be the next this or that. There's certain things that I haven't touched yet. I haven't done, those big animations and whatnot. But when it comes to commercials, when it comes to, just the longevity, I've done it all. I've been nominated for Voice Arts Awards where, you're at the Beverly Hilton or, in New York, we're at the Lincoln Center. So for me, it's the longevity in the game. because we're always doing different things. I've done animations. I've done, PlayStation video games and Xbox and whatnot. So for me, it's just having that continual work, like waking up and still having messages in my inbox that people want to hear my voice. They want me to represent their brand. To me, that's where, the gold medal is.
Wow, that is great. So now you are working from home. You have your own studio. You have a podcast. It's funny because if you think about it, you said you're from the middle of Canada. Now, I know that once you get to like the middle of Canada, the population, the number of people per square kilometer goes way down. But here you are, your voice is being heard worldwide. Okay, no doubt about it. Your voice is being heard worldwide. You're doing this while you're raising kids and everything like that. Obviously, you have found a business. You found your niche. Things are going quite well. Do you ever feel like, maybe you have too many irons in the fire, or you got too many things going on, or anything like that?
You know what? I've been told that. I actually had a conversation with a friend of mine. His name is Dave Pettit. He's literally one of like the best voice actors, one of my favorite talents. And we've been doing this the same amount of time. That guy's so successful, but he doesn't go off the path.
Right.
All he does is voiceover. So he's like, kind of like, Amanda, if you just, stayed in your lane and weren't going all over the place, like it'd probably be a little bit, a little bit easier for you and even more lucrative. But I think being that creative person, and working alone, I got a divorce 3 years ago, and I used to work alongside with my ex-husband. So we were like a team.
Okay.
And, once I started working alone, and now I'm in Saskatchewan, I'm not in Vancouver where kind of all my friends and stuff were. I'm here making new friends. I got so lonely. So I had started writing and recording my own meditations a while back and putting them up on the Insight Timer app. And I started getting messages from people of how like I was helping them through this and that. And I think it was just like that fulfillment and, one of the 4 Ps, like purpose. Like I felt like my purpose was being fulfilled the more that I'm kind of giving back. And then, it's funny because then that leads to other things. Then a woman who listened to one of my meditations, she's the founder of a company, and she works with other female founders. And they invited me out to New York to do some public speaking and leading a meditation for the women there. So then now I'm doing public speaking. And then they asked me to go in a book. Oh, now I'm writing a book. I think it's just the evolution. And I'm not necessarily earning as much as I would like to right now, but I also feel like I'm doing the right thing by exploring that creativity, and voiceover is always going to be there. And I work every day. My inbox, I have things I got to do, I'm still working. So yeah.
One thing that you said in the very beginning about the people you met in Los Angeles and you started a band. Mm-hmm. And those people had this sense of business. And now, I say that a lot of people say business people and artists don't get along. There was a movie or show back a long time ago that actually it was like an odd couple. It was like an odd, like a man and woman got together, and I think the man was really like an uptight business person, and she was a free spirit. Gosh, I forgot the name of that show. Anyway, I'm gonna
we'll think of it.
I'm gonna be pulling it up on YouTube, or I'm gonna say it like blurt it out here. But anyway, they used it in that for that sitcom. It was like an uncommon match. But if you look at it, I'm even listening to you. You are allowing your creativity. You're a very creative individual, and you are turning that into entrepreneurship. And so yes, you are an author, you are a speaker, you are a voiceover actress. You're all these things, but you found a way to kind of incorporate that. Now, when you do the meditations, if you don't mind explaining to the audience,
Mm-hmm.
does that tie into your podcast, or is that separate?
Yeah, I think it's just the evolution. And I'm not necessarily earning as much as I would like to right now, but I also feel like I'm doing the right thing by exploring that creativity. It's separate, but the reason that I started my podcast back up was just to touch on other topics. And I find that when I'm writing and recording meditations, it's so streamlined in what I'm saying. Like I use like the low voice, like close your eyes and take deep breaths. And so I don't quite get everything that I want out. So I think the podcast will just bring in different conversations and perhaps reach a wider audience. So I guess it does go hand in hand. I think it's just learning as I go and like, oh, maybe I should try to elevate my personal brand. And,
Right.
so I think it's just part of the package,
Can
if
you
that
tell
makes sense.
the audience what the name of your podcast is?
Yeah, I just went with the Amanda Sellers show because people know me as Amanda Sellers on Insight Timer for the meditation. So I just tried to keep it simple.
Absolutely. And if you don't mind, like I mean, now I'm going to tell my audience that you know what, after you're done with my podcast, or even before my podcast, make sure you listen to Amanda's podcast because it is very good. What are some of the topics that you do talk about on your podcast?
I think everything that I write about, and I don't know if you feel the same, but it's always like things that we've been through. And so when I'm, doing the podcast, it's all things that I've either faced or overcame or want to learn about. And it's mindset. It's how like just today I was chatting with a gentleman, the midlife male, and how do we make the most out of midlife, and when we're going through these changes and like firing up that spark, say in a marriage again, or facing change in general. Mindfulness, awareness, breaking patterns, breaking past cycles, just becoming your best self. Like I'm constantly evolving and trying to make myself better. And it's not like in a punishing kind of way. It's
Right.
more in a trying to fulfill my potential and like expand. And I made a promise to my kids that like, I'm gonna get us ahead. Like we're gonna make some changes. And now I feel like something in the last maybe even 6 months, I'm like, okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. So I feel like, well,
Right.
people might be seeing a lot more of me. Maybe it'll be annoying. It's that whole thing of facing that uncomfortableness of putting yourself out there and being seen. And I was telling you before we started, like people don't understand or they don't believe me that I'm an introvert. And, I've met people online and then I meet them in person. And the one girl who's become my friend now, she's like, "Oh, I didn't actually think that you were really out shy. Like you seem so outgoing and stuff." So it's being able to push past those, sort of traits. I can change my identity at any time. Like we can change who we are. You can snap your fingers and decide to be somebody different. So who do I want to be? Well, the person that is, doing the podcast and putting themselves out there, they are outgoing. Like I don't need to be shy anymore. I can walk in a room and be like, it's okay. I'm okay.
Right.
I don't know.
It's funny that you brought this up because just a couple about I was in Australia, and about a week or
Cool.
two before I went to Australia, a friend of mine who was very sick from cancer. We just didn't know how sick he was, and he ended up passing away recently. He was my very first friend at childhood. Okay, and when I knew he was sick, while I knew he was sick, and I was kind of following him on social media a little bit. I sent him a couple messages while I was out of town. Well, there's a couple things that happened. I was at a CrossFit event in Sydney, okay? And I was just like, I was there with a friend of mine, and we were watching it, and I was just kind of like, just struck. And I said, I think it's time for me to suck at something new. Seriously. And that's exactly what I said. I said, it's time for me to
Yeah.
suck at something new. So when I said that, unfortunately, I spoke my way into being a part of this CrossFit competition next year at 54. And
Wow.
so I'll be 55 when it happens. But it's funny that you brought this up that, and I love, people that are creative, people who are entrepreneurs, people who want to show their children, in your case, that you can do something different. You can, and it's like constantly reinventing yourself. And one thing I love about
Yeah.
what you do is that you are constantly, I mean, you went from band, but and another thing you don't, you're not, even though you're from you're from a very small province, and I mean, it's a lot of land, but I mean, it's, as far as population, um, but
That's funny.
it's a lot of land. You got a lot of stuff up there, but you were willing to leave and branch out and get out of whatever confines that you were in to become that person. Has that always been you, or is it?
Yeah, when I was 5, my favorite song was Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and I used to listen to it on like the little Fisher Price record player, but like it was just so crazy to me, like, well, what is over the rainbow? Like somewhere over the rainbow. And then now as an adult, my favorite quote is by the astronomer Carl Sagan, and it's somewhere something incredible is waiting to be known. So I think
Yeah.
it's just that constant curiosity. But then when you say, like, leaving the small town and having the courage to try something new, it was never without people trying to bring me down. When I was in high school, my biology teacher told my parents that I was an underachiever and like gave them papers on how to deal with an underachiever. Or I started housekeeping right out of high school.
Okay.
And like I do have that kind of shy, timid, naive personality. Like that's definitely a trait of mine. They did a personality test at this housekeeping job, and they like validated, or that I'm like this kind of meek, mild-tempered. I can't remember exactly what the combination was of my personality, but it was a choice again that I made to get uncomfortable and not be afraid. And then I just was like, I got bullied as a kid, and my parents ended up moving to a different side of town. When I went to that new school, I'm like, no, I'm not going to get bullied ever again. So it's
Right.
just that choice over and over of just like facing it and moving past it. And so maybe it's just ingrained in me now that that's how I operate. Like, okay, you feel uncomfortable about something and do it. And so funny, speaking of like, trying things. Well, my kids are so into hockey, as I know, like
They're
your
good
son
kids.
plays, you guys are all
Yeah.
hockey,
Right.
hockey family. I play with my kids all the time. Like I have my own stick, and I'm like, well, maybe I should join floor hockey, like ball hockey.
Right.
I joined. Oh, worst thing. So sometimes you try things and you fail,
It's a
right?
lot of
So
running. Yeah.
I joined a ball hockey team. I sucked, man. I was so bad. I'm like, okay, this is like embarrassing. I tried it, but at least I tried, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's so cool that you're doing the CrossFit. How's training going? Like, I'm just curious.
I will say, so I work out. I've always worked out. I play hockey. You know that. I play roller hockey. I play ice
Yeah.
hockey, and I lift weights and stuff. And so I figured, since I do the cardio with hockey, because there's a lot of up and down,
Yeah.
but it's only up and down for like 40, 45, 50 seconds max, and then you just like go all out and then you're done. In CrossFit, you're going like we just did something. We're doing training where you run 1,600 meters. You come back, do push-ups, sit-ups, and pull-ups, and squats. And then after you do all this, and it's a lot, it's not like 5 or 6 of them. It's like, 50, 100, and 150. Then after you
Yeah.
do that, you run 1,600 meters again. That's not okay. That is not okay.
Yeah.
But I'm learning how to do it. Like I said, I'm having a ball doing it. It is a challenge.
Yeah.
I'm not, I was telling Joe Jackson, she's in Sydney. She's a friend of mine. She's actually going to be on my CrossFit team in Sydney when we go back. And I just told her, I said, we're just not going to finish last. Now
There you go.
realistically, I'm not going to finish first, but I'm just not going to finish last.
Yeah.
So it's fun that, you bring that up, and it is great. I mean, try something. If you don't like it, you just don't like it. One
Yeah.
thing I don't want to do, and I know this is horrible for me to say, I don't want to try golf because I'm not like tired when I'm done. I can like,
Yeah.
I want to do something I'm tired at. But I'm glad your kids got you into hockey. That is always
Yeah.
like the greatest thing to get somebody into. And I know
Yeah.
people who are actually, I actually play with someone in Indiana. He is 82 years old
Wow.
and he's still playing.
Yeah.
And he cusses like a sailor, like big time, a drunken sailor at that. And but I love playing with him.
That's cool.
You know, you are a single mother now. You raise kids. You have your own business. You have a wonderful smile. So obviously everything's going. At least everything's going the way you're kind of laughing. I should say.
I'm like, well,
Yeah, it's all right. But
I'm a good actor. Just kidding.
it's fake it till you make it, right?
Yeah.
But what is it that you would tell? There are a lot of people, unfortunately, and I'm saying this unfortunate. There's a lot of people that have to do it on their own now. Okay. And what happens with a lot of people in your situation? Some people just say, "Well, this is the lot that I was cast. I'm done."
Right.
But yet you said in this during this interview how you're telling your kids that we're going to get you're giving them goals, you're giving them levels, you're giving them aspirations, which is the words of hope and all that. You acknowledge that there's still more to do. What would you tell someone listening to this podcast? What would you tell that single mom that is probably at the point right now of a little bit of despair? What would you tell them about moving
Well, I
forward?
mean, right out of the gate, I would say don't give up. And then I think for me, it's like getting around the right people, because it's so easy to continue down that like a same pattern or to get absorbed. I don't know if you've heard of Michael Bernard Beckwith from Agape Spiritual Center in Los Angeles. He
No,
was
I
on
haven't.
okay. He's awesome. It's a non-denominational center. His thing is, be in your environment, but just don't be of it, or like, take yourself out of the situation. A single mom, it's like finding someone to look up to or to get some inspiration from. I'm just such a, I know it's hard. I know it's hard when people feel stuck in a cloud. And trust me, over the winter when it was cold here, I was in a dark, like I was going through a hard time.
Yeah.
I was just like, I couldn't get myself moving. Like I was just like, didn't feel like working out. And so if I think of myself then, okay, if I'm talking to that single mom, even, over December, January, that was feeling like absolute crap and not really doing anything about it and feeling kind of like victim, I told myself, I know that this is going to pass. Like, I know this is just part of the journey and the waves, and to just acknowledge it and don't beat myself up about it, and just try to know that like life is going to be hard, right? Like that's the thing too, is like we spend so much time distracting, or say you become single and then you jump right into a new relationship just because you're scared to be alone.
Right.
Like people are fearful to face these things. So the more you can know that you're gonna like get through it and embrace it. I remember when like one of the first times that my kids weren't with me and they were with their dad, and we started doing the back and forth co-parenting thing, I was crying so flippin' hard. I didn't even know what to do with myself. I'm like, what am I supposed to do right now? Like, God, universe, like where am I supposed to go? And literally the thing that came to me was gratitude. Like even in your hardest moments, and when you're feeling the lowest, in the lowest places, like there's always something to be grateful for. Like I have kids, I'm breathing, like I have a roof over my head, just digging into like finding gratitude. And now it's funny because I do kind of beat myself up. I'm like, I don't really have any morning rituals, or, I want to get back into like, okay, no matter what I meditate, no matter what I journal, no matter what I do this. But the one thing I noticed that I do is when I wake up and like I put my feet on the ground, like I always give gratitude. Like I'm like, oh, thank you for this day, and then I try to ask like, who do I want to be today? Like, how do I want to show up today? At the end of this day, what do I want to feel that I accomplished? So, I mean, it's easy for someone just to say, never give up. But, it's just so finding those little tiny things that you can do, that you can face, getting around the right people, and then just continually like snowball off of there and then hit that mountain. Okay, keep going.
I love how you brought up the co-parenting, and it is true. And there's a major distance between. Is that correct? Am I being correct in saying like Vancouver to Saskatchewan? Is that?
Well, to be honest, he moved back here too. Like,
Okay,
it was
good.
a conscious choice that we would both move back here for the kids' sake. And
That is good.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
good. Because I was sitting there, first thing I thought was like, wow, that is a large distance
Yeah.
to be the co-parent. But that, and that also is good because that does show a commitment to making sure that there is some type of similarity, balance, whatever you want to call it, with the parents,
Yeah.
and that is good. And it is funny because I was a single father for a while, and I remember when the house is empty and they're not running around and making noise and getting on your nerves, that is a bad time,
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
really, even though you're like you want your space, you really want them there,
Yeah.
So it is,
Yeah.
and I'm glad you brought that up because people do have to go through that. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it is. And I love what you also said about gratitude. It is, there's, and I don't want to say, because like my grandmother said, there's always somebody who has it worse. Well, I'm glad I don't have it like them, but I'm still feeling crappy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love, what you said about gratitude is instead of saying there's always somebody out there that has it worse, you just think about how well off you really are.
Yeah.
With certain things. So
And
that is
and
great.
like that's what life is to me. It's like it's trying to find the peace and the joy in these moments. Like this moment right here is like all we have. So like how can we make this moment a little bit better? And
Absolutely.
I do feel like that too. Like if it's just me and my kids and I think like, oh, I wish we had the family environment, or I wish we had this or that. It's like, well, it's me and my kids right now, and like looking at their faces, and I get to be with them, and then just like really trying to make the most of every moment. And sometimes we have this like kind of like this weight on our shoulders that we don't even like realize that we're carrying, and it's like, oh, why am I carrying this? Just put
Right.
it down. Like this, it's okay, we're okay.
Absolutely. Summer is coming up, and like I said, I was going to be in your area. I will definitely have to come see you when I'm going to be in Calgary in August, but I will definitely, because like I said, I always have to see my Saskatchewan. I said my, too. Did you hear that? I'm all
Yes.
the way in North Carolina, and I said my Saskatchewan Roughriders. They are a great
So
team.
cool.
And you know what? I will say this about the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I can drive anywhere in North America, and I will see somebody with something Saskatchewan on it. You guys have some fans up there.
That's right. Have you seen the watermelon heads that they wear?
Yes, I did, and I didn't know what it meant until like 2 years ago. And
What does it mean? I don't even know what it means.
I forgot.
Okay, well, we're gonna find out.
We gotta find out again. But I do
There's
know
gotta be-
that the reason why I found out is because I saw it was actually a Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I'm trying to remember.
Oh, like something about like a rival or something.
Yeah, well, they are a big rival, and and the Blue Bombers are actually smashing watermelons. And I was like, "Why are you doing that?"
Oh.
And they told me, but I heard the watermelon head from from somebody from Winnipeg. Maybe we need to look that up, and I will make sure that on the back half of this podcast, I will definitely explain everybody what the watermelon head means. So there you go.
We'll
You know,
show up with
Amanda,
watermelon.
There you go. And I might. Well, I'm not going to wear one, but because they're real watermelons, and I'm not
Yeah.
going to. I don't want to waste it. But anyway, at least not right now. Thank you so much for being on the program. You will be back, I hope. And I do know
Anytime.
that, again, like I said, you listen to this podcast, obviously, but make sure you listen to Amanda's podcast. And if you get like I've heard this voice before, and you get hungry for a reason, okay, or you want to buy certain car insurance or something like that, it's probably her fault. There you go. We will be right back right after this.
Your story matters. Your voice deserves to be heard. At DNP, we bring your dream, purpose, and passion to life in print. Whether your manuscript is ready to go or just an idea waiting to unfold, we're here to guide you. With expert editing, stunning graphics, and the knowledge to make your book a reality, we'll help you share it with the world. From book festivals to signings, this is your moment. Let's turn your dream, purpose, and passion into print. Connect with us today and make your dream a reality.
Welcome back to the 4-Piece Podcast. I hope you enjoyed Amanda's interview. Again, single mom. She has literally traveled the continent and she's found success. She has found a way to motivate her personal and professional purpose. And she's motivated by her personal and professional purpose. And she's also able to find a proper balance to make sure that she is both a great mother and a great entrepreneur. And I hope you were inspired by her interview. And I hope, now every time you listen to TV, you're going to hear her voice. I guarantee you're going to hear it and you're going to know, hey, that's Amanda Sellers. She is going to be doing some work. I know that we're going to be working together in the future. She is going to help me doing some with audiobooks and what have you. So I'm looking forward. I am absolutely looking forward to working with her in the future. And I promised her this summer I will be going to a Saskatchewan Rough Riders game, and I cannot wait to see her at the game. And then I'm gonna, I forgot the watermelon thing, and unfortunately, even after that interview, I said I'm gonna pull that up, and I forgot what the watermelon heads mean on a Saskatchewan Rough Riders fan. So I gotta check that out again. I thought I remembered it, but I just don't remember it. So that just kills me. Another thing that I am doing, I'm 54 years old, and I had a friend of mine pass away recently. He died from cancer. We grew up. He was my very first friend. I mean it. He was my very first friend. He used to go to my father's skating rink. I always look forward to Friday or Saturdays and Sundays because I got to skate with him. Time, it does something to you. We're not here for. I mean, it's funny that we're all given a certain amount of time. You really can't do much to get more. And that's just the way it is. We're given that time, and no one knows the time but our maker, and that's what happens. But without trying to sound so morbid, I decided that this is going to be the year where I'm going to not have a bucket list anymore. I'm going to empty it. And there are going to be a couple things I'm going to do. Every single year, I'm going to try to do something different. I'm going to try to do something new. This year, I'm doing two things. All right. Number one, my best friend, or my dear friend, my brother, actually, in Australia. His name is Philip McDonald. He lives in Australia. Me and him are going to literally ride our bikes across the continent of Australia. I'm going to say continent of Australia because it sounds better than the country of Australia. Because if I tell somebody I rode my bike across the continent, it really sounds a lot cooler than I just rode my bike across the country. Because I could have rode my bike across the country of the Vatican City. That's a country, and it'll probably take me 4 minutes to ride across it. But I did ride across the country. But if I say I ride across the continent, so you could be thinking anything. But I am going to be riding my bike across the continent of Australia with Phil. We are going to be raising money for stroke victims. Before that, I will be working with Jo Jackson. She's been on this show before. And yes, she is also a friend of mine from Australia. She conned me into, not really, she didn't con me, I'm lying. She actually convinced me of a CrossFit competition. And I'm going to tell you right now, she took me to a CrossFit competition in Sydney, and I went there. That was the first CrossFit competition I ever went to in my life. And I never, ever in my life saw such a competition where I'm like, dude, I need to do this. She said, you want to do this? I said, yeah, I really do want to do this. But I was just kind of saying, I kind of want to do this, right? She said, okay, we're doing this. I'm like, okay, roger that. So next year, I'm going to be doing turf games in Sydney, Australia. Looking forward to that, doing a lot of training. You're going to see a lot of stuff on that. The other thing about Jo Jackson that I do want to talk to you about Jo, is she is a motivating individual, and I'm glad that she's in my life. All right. This is somebody who talks about, she quantifies and qualifies life at the same time. And she holds herself accountable, and she also holds those around her accountable. It's not because she's being a pain or she's trying to pester or whatever. She's doing that because she, number one, cares about you, and number two, she absolutely wants you to live the best out of life. And I'm sitting there going, if you could do that for me, and I think I'm a pretty motivated individual, you can do that for the rest of my my audience. You can do that for my entire audience. You can do it for the entire world, because that's who listens to this podcast. People throughout the entire world are listening to this podcast. So once every 2 weeks, she's going to have a segment. When we come back, we are actually going to have Jo and we're going to have a quick conversation. We're going to talk about what the segment's going to be about, and we're going to go from there. But when we come back, we'll have Jo Jackson.
Welcome back to the 4Ps podcast. You know, today I have a friend. Now, you did not see her on my podcast last time because we were straight audio. Now you could see her, and she is a phenomenal. She's a coach. She's an entrepreneur. She is an athlete. She has become a very good friend. And one thing I have to say about her friendship is the fact that she holds her friends accountable. And that is a true sign of friendship. It's a true sign of leadership. And she's also the kind of person that if she's going to have you do it, she's not going to be the type of person that wouldn't do it. She doesn't force people to think about things that you wouldn't do. And from the very first day I met her, I knew that she was someone special. And I'm going to say that you probably are tired of hearing me giving you advice on the podcast all the time. So what I did was, because she has inspired me, I know that she will inspire you. It is Jo Jackson, all the way from Sydney, Australia. She has so many things that she has to say, and she will have a bi-weekly segment on this podcast from here on out, as long as she wants to do it. And as she's sitting there pumping me up to do this turf games, she's going to definitely pump you up to make sure that you do things and go outside and move forward. Jo, welcome to the show, and welcome of being a permanent member of the show. After I've said everything about you, why don't you go ahead and tell us exactly what you want people to know?
Thank you so much, Trunnis. It's all lies. Absolutely all of it. It's all lies. None of what he said is true. I'm lazy. I don't do accountability. I'm all hype. I'm shallow. I'm hollow. You know, all of the opposites of what Trunnis said is true.
Yeah. Okay.
But thank you for letting me have a segment on your show anyway. This is going to be fun.
Good. Excellent.
Look, you know what? I appreciate your time, and you know what? I just want to echo what you've said. And Trunnis, who would have thought that I've gone from being a person that attends your brother's events to sitting here having conversations with you, and they're just completely separate. Never in your wildest dreams would you have thought that that would be possible. But I'm so privileged to have you in my circle. And I absolutely appreciate all of your efforts and all of your connectivity and belief, because, you know, it's a two-way street.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will tell you this, though. David would have never convinced me to do a CrossFit event. I want you to know that. Never would have happened.
I've got the Midas touch.
There you go. He would have never convinced me. You know, you do talk a lot about, and you not only do you talk it, you live it. You live, you know, again, I did talk about accountability, but you do the impossible. You do a lot of things. You are a single mother. You're an entrepreneur. You know, you live the life that a lot of us live, but you find ways to turn it into a positive and be successful. Is that going to be what you're going to be offering, and just like little nuggets of advice to the audience?
Absolutely. And that's exactly what I'm going to share when I do my segment. It's really about breaking things down into what I call 2 millimeter shifts. One of the biggest things we get confused about is there's so much information out there, and oh my goodness, who do I listen to, and how do I know that what you're telling me is true? Or it's all well and good for you. Look at you. You've got everything together. Clearly, you don't have the challenges I do. Clearly, you don't have the health issues. And we come up with a series of resistances. Some people call them excuses, but let's just go with obstacles. And we create our own obstacles. And once you understand fundamentally how not just your mind works, your conscious mind, but also the neurology in your brain, and also how your body works, and you understand that you actually have a pharmacy in here, that if you put the right things into it, it will produce everything that you need. So in the segment, we're going to be talking small shifts, nothing huge, something that you can go and practically apply, or something that you can think about and think, all right, how does that work for me? What impact can that have for me? This is the type of stuff that you can teach your kids. I've taught my kids. I have 2 phenomenal children, and every parent brags about their children, but I'm going to claim that I'm actually not lying on this one, that there's absolute truth in the fact that they're amazing. But it all comes from the foundation that we create. And often we don't think about our foundations. So I'm going to be talking a lot about how can you look at this differently? How can you apply something different to the same situation? What if you just nudged it a little bit harder? What's on the other side? And we're going to explore a lot about your body and your mind and your thoughts, and how all of this ties in to create this thing that we call life, and how you are actually in control of your experience of life, even though you may not realize it yet.
Absolutely. I am absolutely looking forward to the segment. Like I said, she has inspired me. I know that I love the 4 Ps. I love talking about it. This is a segment that does fall in line with all of the purpose, planning, passion, and persistence. It falls in line with it big time. But you know what? It does. And I will say that this is the absolute truth. It does add an element of accountability that we all need. I will tell you this, we meet once a week, and we meet once a week because I said, hey, I'm going to be a part of this turf games thing, and she basically says, you're not going to embarrass me, so we're meeting once a week. And that's why we do that, other than the fact that I love talking to her. But again, this segment will start our very next episode, and it is called what, Joe?
It was uncommon thinking for inevitable success, actually. My 2 favorite words, uncommon and inevitable.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. Don't forget, it will be on starting next episode. Thank you so much. We'll be right back right after this.
The battle doesn't always end when the service does. For many veterans, the transition to civilian life is a journey of resilience, struggle, and hope. In Stories of Veterans, from military to civilian life, real men and women share their personal journeys, overcoming challenges, finding purpose, and creating new beginnings. Honor their stories, understand their journey. Stories of Veterans from military to civilian life, available now at Barnes & Noble, on Amazon, and anywhere you buy books.
On doing it. But hey, welcome back to the final segment of this episode of the 4 Ps podcast. I hope you enjoyed the entire podcast. I hope you were inspired by Amanda, and I hope you will look forward to continue to be inspired by Joe Jackson and all the things that she has to say. We will have segments. Like I said, these segments will go on probably once every about once every other week. We are also going to have some other segments on this show as well. Again, little segments. I want everybody on my 4 Ps podcast, everybody. Number one, I want you to have purpose, right? And what I mean by purpose, what I want by that purpose, I want you to have your own purpose. And then after that, I want you to have planning. So during my planning segments, when I talk about planning, I'm going to be sitting there just shooting ideas. You're going to hear from other individuals that have learned and made mistakes or learned and became successful based on how they plan. That's what you're going to get. You're also going to talk to people with a ton of passion. A ton of passion. Your purpose and your passion have to be balanced. Because if you don't have balance in your passion, there's going to be another problem. when persistence, you know what? Bad crap is going to happen to you. It is going to happen. There are going to be setbacks in even you achieving your purpose. And I want to make sure that you are focused on it and you are ready. Now I'm going to have people on here just like Tessa. She was on this program talking about the persistence she had to go through. And then we had Tom Bender just a couple weeks ago talking about all the things that he had to go through. We had Sam Humphrey on this program. Sam Humphrey, you know what? This is a guy, and I love this guy. I really do, because this is a guy that at a very young age literally flew across a continent, or across not only a continent, flew across the largest ocean bed of water that we have in the world, flew across, had no idea what was going on, and came to America and became successful. He had to be persistent. It wasn't just like, hey, one and done, slam dunk, it's over, you know. And those things are those happenings are few and far between. And usually when you do get it, that ultimate success, things that you fall that immediate success, I should say, when you get that immediate success, usually that's when persistence does hit, you're not prepared. You're not prepared. Like in sports, when you see teams that are on like this 13 game, 14 game, 15 game winning streak, the first time they start losing and start seeing some type of struggle and stuff like that, you watch them fall apart. And that is because they never had to be put in a situation where they had to be persistent. And those are things that we're going to talk about. And then the other thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about peace. You know, I have some episodes coming up where it is just like lay back, chill, laugh, enjoy yourself, places that you can go, things you can do. For example, even though Angela Means was talking about, you know, her things that she had to do, and all of the roles that she had to play, and even the stuff that she's doing now, and how she had to be persistent and she had to show passion, and she showed her purpose as well. You know, we kind of laughed a little bit, and we talked about, you know, Friday and all that other good stuff. And, you know, I want you guys, because you need to be well-rounded. You need to have something that gives you peace. You definitely need to you need to have something that gives you peace. And that could be working out, that could be reading a book. Hopefully you read my books. There's some right back here. Get those. But also it could be, you know, it could be anything. But I also want to show you that piece. You know, you do need to relax, because if you go all the time, balls to the wall all the time, you're going to burn out. And that's just what's going to happen. You're going to burn out. So we do want you to have a little bit of peace as well. We will be back next week with Camille Dan. Now, Camille Dan, we are now going to start the series going into the ultimate of stories of, and the book coming out again. It comes out on May 17th, and that is Stories of Friends and Family Lost. And we are going to start out with Camille Dan. Now, anybody that's lost anybody, there is a level of pain. I do want you to know that. And I don't want you to focus. I mean, we want to honor those who have been lost. So I want to say that. But I also want you to focus on how these individuals are dealing with their grief. You know what? I don't care what you do. Pain is coming. Okay? Pain is coming. You can't avoid pain. And that's why I bring that up on this podcast all the time. I bring up people that have gone through pain. So when you go through pain, you have something to reference back to. These podcasts aren't going anywhere. If I remember hearing that on my podcast, come back to this podcast and listen to what that individual, whoever that individual is, because I got a bunch of them on here that have gone through something and gone through some type of struggle. And Camille, I'm going to tell you, she is going to show you what she is doing right now, and she's doing some great and honorable works. We will be back, like I said, next week with Camille Dan. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.